Hey friends, today's episode, we're sitting down with Robert Hamilton Owens, who's made bold moves and confident choices to build something incredible. We'll dive into his journey, the key lessons learned, and some surprising insights along the way. Here's a little bit about our incredible guest. Robert Hamilton Owens is the fittest and mentally toughest 71-year-old in the world. He is a true force of nature, a former Air Force Special Ops pararescue, 12-time Ironman, endurance athlete, keynote speaker, philanthropist, and Robert spends his life pursuing and pushing limits, both of his own and others. From extreme races like the 300 of Sparta endurance race to completing, are you ready? 7 marathons on 7 continents in 7 days. Again, let me repeat that. 7 marathons on 7 continents in 7 days. His feats are nothing short of legendary. Beyond physical endurance, Robert is a mentor and motivator, inspiring elite athletes, military leaders, and global organizations, including the Navy SEALs and South African Parliament. With over 25 years as a speaker and TV host, his mission is clear: to help others break barriers, defy odds, and redefine what's possible at any age. Get ready for an episode packed with grit, resilience, and unstoppable drive. So without further ado, I welcome Robert Hamilton to Bold Moves, Confident Choices. Hello, Robert.
Hey. Hi, Courtney. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Thank you so much for being here today.
Sure. Thanks for having me.
You have so much insight to bring to all of us. So before I ask the big question of what your big bold move was, which I know you have many, why don't you start off by just telling us a little bit more about Robert?
Most people like to know that I was a disabled adoptee. I was adopted at 3 months old. I got a name. 3 months into it, I went from a number to a name when my parents picked me up at the orphanage. And they picked out a special needs kid that couldn't walk. So I didn't learn to walk unaided until 6th grade. So I played by myself most of my time and had a lot of snakes in my head with poor self-worth and issues of abandonment, those kind of things. Just went through some real struggles. Growing up, my mom had lupus for her whole life. A UCLA grad, got lupus at 39 and had it at 91. Prednisone, cortisone, osteoporosis, all kinds of stuff on her background in her life. Anyway, I was sort of a loner growing up because I just didn't really fit, didn't know where to fit. Then began to discover who I was because men began to speak into my life and tell me that I wasn't stupid and dumb and a loser and a mistake. I began to listen to them. So that's where it starts.
Wow. So Robert, you have done so many amazing things in your life, especially from an athletic standpoint. How did you move past not being able to walk to getting where you are today? Like, how did you do that?
My mom was a PE major out of UCLA, got her master's out of Wellesley. When I couldn't run, she threw me in the water. And she said, well, if you can't run, you can swim. And so she put me in a swimming academy with diapers on and threw me in the pool with a bunch of World War II mothers and learned to swim. And then took me to the beach. My grandparents lived at the ocean. And so I began to be in the water. I didn't have to run to be somebody. I could swim and do things. And I started boogie boarding and surfing probably in 5th grade, 6th grade. Then learned to run. And running was a secondary thing. And swimming was a first thing. And I found my niche in the water.
You became a natural born swimmer, huh? A natural born fish.
Well, it's pretty fun when you're around the water and you like the water and you have no fear of water because you got thrown in really early. When I got to junior high, people said, you're going to go to high school and play water polo and swimming. And I said, what is that? And they said, oh, it's soccer in a swimming pool. I said, that sounds pretty stupid, Anyway, got to high school and joined this team because we had an outdoor pool. And when we weren't swimming, we'd sit out in the sun and soak rays and get a tan. And so when all the football guys were all sweating and looking ugly, pimples and stuff, we were out there soaking rays, little Adonises with good bods, and hanging out in a pair of Speedos. And all of a sudden I found that I could compete in that. And my coach ended up being the U.S. Olympic coach. Went from high school to Long Beach State, to University of Michigan, the USA Olympic coach. And so he treated all of us young kids as little Olympians. He just told us about excellence and about hard work can beat better talent. And so my father was never around in the sense he was busy working. I just sort of did whatever this coach said, as others, and I developed and grew, gained some confidence.
Wow. So you talk about the snakes in your head. Are these the coaches? Are these the individuals? How did they help you get those snakes out of your head?
They said, "Why do you think the way you think? You have talent." But in my head, I mean, I was called a mistake in third grade. I was told I was a loser growing up because I couldn't do anything. And so you begin to have these poor self worth thoughts. I can't, I shouldn't, I couldn't, don't want to try, don't want to be embarrassed, don't want to fail. All the things that many of us have in our heads as he began to exploit those and say to us, don't think like that. We're going to win this race and you're going to win this race. We're going to win this meet. We're going to beat this team in water polo, blah, blah, blah. A lot of us, it was a 3-year high school, a lot of us sophomores just said, okay, whatever you say, we'll do. And sure enough, we all excelled. I think we had 9 D1 scholarships out of our high school team, in swimming.
Incredible.
Kids that were not age group swimmers. They started in ninth grade. They didn't start 3, 4, 5, 10, just normal high school kids. We put 2 guys on the Olympic team from our high school water polo team. We had a culture where kids began to transfer from their school to our school to be under this coach. And he fathered a bunch of kids and spoke life into us. So we were just moldable. We just are so glad that the right guy began to speak into our lives.
Incredible. So really that man who came into your life really set the stage for everything, a lot of what you've accomplished from that point on in your life.
When you begin to start to get wins, most people don't have confidence in certain areas. But when you start taking yourself on and getting incremental little wins, like one less cigarette today, or one less donut today, or one less Coke today, or one less glass of wine today, when you begin to take yourself on and say, I wonder if, and then you begin to find that you could do those what ifs, little things. We call that stacking in the coaching business. You begin to stack little wins on top of each other, and you get those 10,000 hours they talk about, and pretty soon you evolve and you grow. And the things that you thought were impossible are not impossible anymore. They are more like, I wonder if. And then you begin to say, I wonder if, I wonder if, I wonder if. And pretty soon I was wonder ifing right myself into special ops and leading my team. And then when the Ironman came out, it was in Sports Illustrated as the toughest endurance race in the world. Stupid. And I said, no problem, I can do that. And knocked out year number 3 with a pair of swim trunks on and a baseball hat and a pair of tennis shoes. Went to Hawaii. And you begin to gain confidence. To the listeners listening, there's many of us that wish we could do or wish we knew how. But if you just listen to the right people and you let them begin to guide you and get rid of the naysayers, the snake people, and begin to listen to people that are positive, your life can change. But most people are afraid to step out in the beginning and start the journey or the struggle of, I wonder if.
So if we're afraid to take that first step, what can you tell us to push us over that line, to jump in, to trying to move forward?
Everybody has a struggle. Mental, emotional, relational, social. Everybody has a struggle. And so once you realize that life is meant to be challenging, it's not meant to be easy. If you take the easy road, you won't grow. Mm-hmm. And so when you begin to say, I wonder if, and then begin to put your toe in the water and step out and try something that you've never done before, when you embrace physical discomfort or mental discomfort or emotional discomfort or social discomfort, when you do something that you don't know that you really want to do because you don't want to fail, but you try it, and you go back and you go back, pretty soon you say, it's not that bad. No one wants to be a freshman in high school. And by your senior year, what's the problem? But then you got to go be a freshman again in college. Oh, no. And in our life, there are freshman moments over and over and over of, oh, I don't know what to do. Well, let's try it and you'll figure it out. Those kind of things, it can happen for you. It can happen for each listener there that there's something that's a challenge for them. And if they get the right people around them and they don't care what other people think after a while, because you're not trying to please anybody but you, because you're trying to grow, people will begin to see, wow, this is deep. And I meet new friends who are doing the same thing, and you find a way to win. And you just begin to mature mentally and emotionally, physically, relationally, and you change.
Robert, what a great point. We will continue to have freshman moments throughout our entire life.
Entire life.
And that is such a simple way to just put ourselves back in that moment. We've all been there and we all get past it. We all push forward past that moment. But something else you also highlight is you keep meeting new people along the way, because you start meeting people who you're surrounding yourself who are doing the same things, right? And
Right.
pushing you to that next level of extraordinary.
Here's the challenge for most people. Every time you go to the next level in life,
Yeah.
you leave your friends behind. Because
Yeah.
your friends say, don't go to the next level. Stay here with us in mediocrity,
Right.
in excuses. And
Yeah.
you say, no, I'm tired of that mediocre lifestyle, mediocre thinking, survivor mentality, victim mentality. If you leave us, then that condemns us. And so you don't want to hurt your friends, so you stay down with them to be nice. But whenever you go to the next level, you have to leave the excuses behind that your friends want you to have. So the higher you begin to grow in whatever it is that you're growing into, you can't take your friends with you. And the sad part is you say, don't you want to come too? And they go, no, because they don't want to pay the price, or they don't want to change, or they like their excuses. Or just like saying, I'm going to stop drinking. Well, what do you do at Christmas? What am I going to do if I got to go home to a drinking house and you don't want to be a drinker anymore? What are you going to do? And there's pain. There's social pain, relational pain, situational pain. I don't want to be in that pain, so I'll just drink with my parents because I don't want to be causing a ruckus. But every time that you go to that next place, you have to leave people behind. And most people are afraid of being alone or being isolated or people's opinions about them. And so they'd rather stay in that bad situation than set themselves apart and go, okay, I can find a way to win. I am so desperate to get out of this that's willing, leaving them behind to go to this next place. I mean, I went to college 5 times. And the first 4 times I went, I flunked out. If there was too much snow, I went skiing. If there was too much good surf, didn't go to class. I liked living in the back of my van with my ponytail. And then someone said, you want to go back to college? And the 5th time I said, after military, oh yeah, what's the problem? And got almost straight A's. But the first 4 times, my headspace was full of fear, doubt, and unbelief. I can't, I couldn't, I'm not smart, I'm this and that. And then I finally went through the military thing and found out that I was, or not dumb, I was smart. And I went, oh yeah, I knocked out college easy. So you have to change your environment, and you have to change the way you're thinking and change your friends. And most people don't want to make those moves.
And Robert, you say so many things again here that I want to touch on. So you don't necessarily have to leave your friends. You can invite them along, but you'll quickly find that most of them, if not all of them, won't join you, is what you're saying. And you just got to keep pushing forward.
You can be their friend, say hi, but you can't let them be in your headspace.
Yeah, there you go. We can't let them be in our headspace. And then next, it's really fascinating to me knowing your background and all you've achieved. You would think that you've always been this type A person, go, 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 that never fought the head game we all play. Like you just said, you dropped out of college 5 times. It took
My
you
dad,
on your
my
5th
dad,
try.
my dad's a Mensa. My dad's a Mensa at Stanford, 4-point undergrad, 4-point law school. Never got a B in his life. My mom's a 4-point out of UCLA with her master's out of Wellesley. My sister's a 4-point out of USC. And then there's me. I just want to party and surf and ski and, be stupid. And so you have to say, oh, there's got to be a change here, or I must be thinking incorrectly, or something. But pressure will get you. Sooner or later, something has to change in your life. And when you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, and if you really want to change, you'll do it. And when I coach
Right.
Navy SEAL candidates today, or Air Force Special Warfare kids or Army Rangers, when I train them, I say, how bad do you want this? And then I say, I don't think you want it that bad. And I'm going to crush your why. Your why is not strong enough. By the time I'm done with you, you'll quit. I'm testing them to see how bad do you want it, whatever you want to do. Because we want them to make it, but we want to know that they want it more than life itself. That there's nothing that will stand in the way of them accomplishing that goal. And then we smile at them and give them a hug and shake their hand and say, wow, you really wanted it. And most people don't really want to change as bad as they say they do. They like their excuses, they like their issues, they like their situation. They don't like it, but they're not willing to say, I'll do this or die. I am going to change this situation in my life. So that's it. That's it with young men, young women. For me, it's like, we all want you to make it. How bad do you really want to make it? There's a book out called How Bad Do You Want It? And it's a great book on pain. It's a story that there's a different chemical released in your mind from physical pain that says, stop, you're going to hurt yourself, don't do it. And then when you work through that physical pain, then there's another chemical released in your brain later. It's called mental pain. And then the mental pain becomes so torturous and stuff that you want to quit now. Once you go through the physical pain chemical and the mental pain chemical in your brain that's trying to protect you from whatever it is, then you go into a place like flow state, and you get a place where nothing bugs you at all. But no one wants to pay the price through those different kinds of pains. And everything that we want in life comes from discomfort of something, of the struggle. Life is in the struggle.
It sure is, Robert. And you have witnessed people go through all those different levels of pain. Everyone, I have to tell you, he is one of the most fascinating people to just sit down and talk to. The stories, just lessons learned. We could go on all day. So, Robert, I'm going to interject right here and
What are you
ask
going to
you
do?
this.
What are you going to do?
I'm going to ask you this question, and
Yes.
it's a big question because I know you have a lot of them, but what would you say was the bold move or confident choice that took things to the next level for you personally?
You know, you told me you were going to ask me that question. I had to think back on it. When I was in high school, I was not a stud athlete. I was the guy that got last place or third place. Or I was on the team, but I wasn't good. I was just an average kid. I lived near the beach, and all of our guys, water polo swimmers, we lifeguarded the beach in the summertime. You know, check chicks and go surfing. It was really a lot of fun. Orange thing, run down the beach. Hey, who are you? You know? And so you had to be 16. We had a lifeguard department called San Clemente City Lifeguard. We had about 30 miles of beach that we had to cover. And all the guys tried out and made it. The coach said to me I wasn't going to be 16 till October, which meant I missed the whole sophomore summer because I was too young. My coaches, my water polo coach and swim coach said, Robert, why don't you go down and try out with all the guys to get understanding for what it's going to be like next year for you? Because you're too young to do it in June, July, and August. You don't turn 16 till October. And they said, you might as well get some understanding of what's going to take to make this thing. And this is against UCI, San Diego State, USA, USC, UCLA, all kinds of swimmers who come down to want to be lifeguards at all the beaches in Southern California. And I'm an average guy, but I'm an ocean guy because my mom had thrown me in the ocean, surfing and stuff. Being an average guy on my team, not a stud, I went down there. My mom took me down. She said, what are you doing? I said, I want to check this out to see how it works. There's a current that runs under our pier, and it runs fast. And we have a pier, and then we put a buoy at the end of the pier, big orange buoy, and you have to swim to the buoy and back in as one of 3 events. But there's a current. And so pool guys only know pool. But ocean guys know ocean because we've surfed in swells and currents and stuff. So I went down and practiced on my own after school on how am I going to do this thing. So I prayed for big waves, which pool swimmers don't like. And I prayed for a big current so I could figure it out, but they wouldn't know what to do. And that cold, foggy March morning, I went down with all older guys. And so gun goes, and so I trained to figure it out that I'd start off way over by the pier and let the current take me to the buoy, where the other guys started right in front of the buoy, and they got this way and had to swim back to the buoy. Anyway, I got out there, and when I came in, the waves were big, and I body surfed past all the first place swimmer guys, and I got a first place. So
Wow.
I got 15 and a half. I got a first place over 17, 18, 19, 20 rule. And the second race came along. I was able to do the same thing. I got a second first place. 3 events. I have 2 firsts at 15 and a half. Third race, I got a third. I didn't really care. I'd already got 2 firsts. I got a third. So I got 2 firsts and a third. When I ran up the beach each time, the captain of the lifeguard department, this old 50-year-old guy, looked at me and said, what's the deal with you? He didn't know that I'd come down and I'd strategized how to beat pool swimmers. And so when they called me in, they give everybody a popsicle stick in those days with a number 1 on it, number 2. And when I went in, they said, we want to talk to the guy, that kid, Owens. And they went in and said, what's the deal with you? And I was nervous, you know. I went, I just happy to be here. And they said, how'd you do that? How'd you beat those guys? I said, I came down here and figured it out. And I hoped for a big swell and I hoped for a big current. And they went, you're really weird. You're strange. You're a good kid. And I said, yeah, thanks for letting me I was here for next year. They said, you know, you're too young. I said, sure. And so they called me that Thursday after a Saturday next week. On Thursday, they called me and said, "Hey, Bobby, how'd you like to be a lifeguard?" I said, "I can't. I'm too young." They said, "We went to the city manager and got a waiver for you. You're the only 15-year-old athlete we've ever hired." And I went, "Really?" And my water polo swim team exploded. My coaches not only hugged me and kissed me, but they said, "Look, hard work beats better talent, blah, blah, blah. You're just an epicenter of what you can do if you get the snakes out of your head and you think." And when that happened, I went, wow, I got some goods in me. I think I have more talent. So then when these guys said to me, "Why don't you go special ops?" I said, again, snakes, I don't have special ops in me. I'm just an average guy. And they said, "You got special ops in you." I said, "No, I'm not fast and this and that." They said, "If you'll do what we tell you to do for 6 months, if you'll just go dark, like how bad do you want it? If you want it, go dark and just let us put you through workouts." And I did that for 6 months. So when I enlisted and went in the Air Force, we had a class of 150. We graduated 10, and they made me team leader of the 10.
Unbelievable,
For
Robert.
the, for the next year of training, jump school, scuba school, medical school, blah, blah, blah. And the point was, they said, "Why are you always at the back of the line?" I said, "Because I'm not a leader." They go, "Yeah, you are. Everybody's watching you. Everybody follows you. Everybody does what you do." I go, I don't know." They said, "Why do you think the way you think?" I go, and it took year after year after year of peeling the snakes out of my brain that I was talented and I was smart and I was gifted. And all the stuff I'd been raised with, I had to work on getting those thoughts out of my mind and find out that I'm good to go. I'm saying in the stacking thing, if you get these wins, they build and they build and they build. Till pretty soon, rowing across the Atlantic Ocean is a piece of cake. People say, "You can't do that. You're too old." I go, "I got it. I understand. I'm
Watch
too old.
me. Watch
Watch
me.
me." And so I'm the oldest American that's ever rowed across the Atlantic. And they said, "You want to row the Pacific?" And I'm working on my wife on that one right now. but,
Oh,
but,
Robert.
but, but the point is that everybody that's listening to us has dreams
Yes.
and has desires and wants to do better and more and be different. There's two people inside all of us. There's the people that we have that we're living every day, and there's that person that dreams inside and sees someone play the violin or snow ski or get a degree from somebody. I wish I could do that. And that inner person wants to come out, but we limit them by the way we think and the people that we hang with. And so once you change all those things, then this inner person begins to gain confidence. And whoa, all of a sudden, I didn't know I could really do these things, and you can do them. And that's in my coaching practice, I find all kinds of folks and I say, "What's your issue?" And they'll tell me, "This is my issue." Great. You want to change it? Tell me why. And we work on that. And the fun part is that almost all of them make these major leaps and changes, but no one has ever taught them about the snakes in their head.
Yeah.
No one talks about, do you think about your thinking? No, I just think.
And
Well,
it's
why do
one
you
of the most powerful things we can do for ourselves.
think about your thinking? Why are those
Yeah.
thoughts in my brain? Where did I get them? Where did they come from? And you do an autopsy on your brain. Why is it in there? And you'll find that somebody said something way when you're a little kid or something that sort of shaped your thinking. And you have to start from scratch and pull the weeds out of your garden.
Robert, listening to you say all this, again, we all have snakes. I have my snakes. You've had your snakes. It's never ending, right? Like it's something that we
Never,
continuously have to pull out.
every
Um,
decade.
yeah.
I mean, at least every decade, because no kids or single to married, married to
Right.
kids or something, and then
Right.
kids, empty nest, and then blah, 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 and this job, and it morphs and changes. You're not doing a ladder, you're doing a jungle gym. And all the time, you have these thoughts of, "Oh no," because it's something new. Get paralyzed.
And you just said, we've got to think bigger, dream bigger. I just felt myself take a really big, deep breath at that moment of we have to allow ourselves to go there because if we don't, we're not going to grow. We're going to stay complacent. We're going to just stay as is. And that's the best part about life. We have control of it.
That's why I like you, Courtney, because when you said to me, "I'm going to do a podcast," I said, "Oh, really? Okay. What's that thing all about?" And so you're willing to start and try. You can fail. It's no big thing. Everybody fails before they get a first place. So if you learn to fail forward, if you learn to try, and then if the window doesn't open here or the door doesn't open, go to the window over here and something else will open up and you have to try things. And that's what I like about you.
Well, thank you. I take that as a huge compliment coming from you, Robert. So I can't believe that we could, again, keep talking all day, but if you could go back in life, Robert, what would you tell your 18-year-old self?
Yeah, you mentioned that you were going to ask me that too. My 18-year-old self was lost. I was drinking heavy. I'd been in jail. I got sexually abused in seventh grade. I got sexually abused in eighth grade. And I started drinking heavy. My mom had lupus. I was just figuring how to run. I just had snakes in my head. My 18-year-old self was just a nice guy going nowhere. And he had issues with authority. My dad was a judge, a presiding judge of the county. And I was a disappointment to him because I wasn't studious. He wanted to adopt a boy that would be an attorney. I was not close to being an attorney in the 60s and the 70s. And I probably would have said to that 18-year-old, how long do you want to be stupid? How long do you want to continue to screw up and go nowhere in life? Because I like you, I love you, but as long as you want to stay stupid, I'll be there to support you. But when you want to get your act together, why don't you call me? And if somebody had said that to me bluntly like that, I would have listened. But no one came in. I was pretty much condoned by everybody because I was a nice guy. I
Yeah.
just did off the wall. I mean, I started jumping out of airplanes at 16 just to see if I could do it, and so everybody just sort of said, there's Robert. But I wish somebody would have looked at me and said, you're really screwed up. I really wish that you would think about getting your act together because you have so much potential, like my high school coaches had. That's probably what I would have said to my 18-year-old self.
Yeah. I mean, Robert, where you have come from in your life, you are an example of grit, resilience, and unstoppable drive. From not being able to walk to being adopted first, right? Being a number to being adopted to learning to walk to going through the mental battle and challenges you have to show yourself and prove yourself that you're unstoppable. I mean, your story just goes on and on and on. And
Mm-hmm.
I so admire it, Robert. You are an example of what people can achieve in life if they put the work in, if they believe in themselves and really go for it.
And if they your friends,
Thank you. Yes. And be careful who you surround yourself with. Robert, before we leave here today, what would you like everyone to walk away with?
you can do
Some,
it. You can make the leap. You can try. You can make little steps, and you can find people that will believe in you. There's groups out there all over the place. If you're stuck right now, you don't have to be stuck any longer. We're only a decision away. It'll be painful because anything new is painful. Yeah, I don't know if I can ride a bike. I don't know if I can go to college. I don't know if I can lose the weight. I don't know if I can get away from bad people in my life. The scripture says that suffering produces, and most people don't want to suffer. Everybody wants to be an overcomer, but nobody wants to overcome. Everybody wants to have victory in their life, but nobody wants a battle. And so when the scripture says suffering produces perseverance, and perseverance character, and character hope, the point being is that suffering is supposed to work for you, not against you. You have
light
to,
bulb.
yeah, you've got to suffer by starting something that's hard. And it's not really hard for a lot of people, but it's hard for you. And everybody has a different hard thing that they have to work through. When you embrace discomfort, everything's going to come from being discomforted. That's the genesis of all things. If I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired, well, then what are you going to do? And when you get that
Yeah.
place,
So, Robert, where can people find you? If they want to reach out to you, learn more, look at your services, where can they find you?
they can call me. My phone number is 949-542-9600. I mean, I talk to people from Hungary and South America. They call me all the time, hey, Robert. My website is my name, roberthamiltonowens.com. Robert Hamilton, like the stage play, Robert Hamilton Owens. Just think my mom gave me the middle name Hamilton. She pulled me out of an orphanage and said, you got a Hamilton in you. I said, why'd you do that, Mom? She goes, I think you need some help with a stately name. I said, I probably needed help with a stately name. RobertHamiltonOwens.com. And then my email is my name, Robert Owens. But the Owens has two S's. Why? Because I had two S's for my kids and I had three S's for this other group. So I had Robert Owens double S, Robert Owens triple S. The one that you want to do is Robert Owens with a double S at Yahoo. And if you contact me, I'll be happy to listen to you and talk to you. And I coach a lot of folks.
Everyone, we will have his information in the show notes. So if you missed that, you can find it there. But as we walk away today, Robert, I want to thank you for being here and sharing your story, teaching us to do those stackable behaviors. Little small steps go a long way to remind ourselves to get the snakes out of our head. We all have them, but we've got to change our mindset. And last, to remind ourselves you can do it. Something so simple, but you can do it. Again, Robert, thank you for being here today. Thank you to all my listeners. I want you to go be bold, be confident, and be you.
Let me say one last thing.
Yes.
To your listeners. Now, Courtney needs to know what you're taking away from this talk or all the different people that she interviews. So Courtney would really appreciate it if you would contact her, email or LinkedIn or whatever, and say, I listened to that and this is what I liked about that guy, or the guy was a jerk, never have him back. But she wants feedback. So would you please give Courtney feedback on this podcast on what you like about it, what you would like her to do more of, and thank her. So please do that.
Thank you, Robert. And so true. You all help me get better myself, and I can only do that with your feedback. So, Robert, thank you.
Sure. Good to see you. Hope everybody does well out there.
Bye, everyone. Have a great day, and thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in to Bold Moves, Confident Choices. Remember, the boldest moves come from trusting ourselves and taking action. If you loved this episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, or share with someone who needs a little extra boost to boldness. Until next time, be bold, be confident, be you. Thanks.